Hello, my friends. So, today we will talk about something drastic that can happen later this year. Um, the prophecy I have and the dreams people were having, and all is pointing to the same conclusion. As I was doing my research on this subject, a lot of things were pointing out that this can happen later this year, most possibly springtimes into summertime. Um, we are already in March, and you never know. March could be the last month to prepare. So stay tuned. We will talk about what's causing this and what the president is saying about it, and also a financial advisor, what he's recommending you should do. Little basic things about this huge thing that's coming, which is an economic collapse. Stay tuned. Okay, so the basic things are this year has been really scary so far. There's a war in Ukraine, the gas prices are rising, and the food prices are rising. And what else is on the horizon? According to some people I know and people who are leaving me comments, they're stating that there's a huge economic collision or collapse coming shortly to America. And when it happens here in America, it will trigger a huge reset to the whole world. Let me give you some interesting research I was doing. So the first thing is President Biden was talking recently, and he was saying that since Russia attacked Ukraine, he will keep it accountable. He will try to put lots of sanctions on it, but those sanctions are triggering a huge increase in our gas prices. Why is that happening? He said he will try to make sure our gas will not go higher, but how can he do that? He's refusing oil from Russia, and many problems are being created through that. But as I was reading about it. I read Harry Dent, who's a financial advisor, and he states back in November he has said this: the biggest recession or depression of our lives is coming early this year, and the economy will collapse. It will not get stronger until 2024. He says the economy has been overstimulated for the past few years, and by printing money, the economy will likely be like a Great Depression of 1930s. And this is actually reminding me of a dream I just had recently. If you remember, the Great Depression 1930s, there was so many rations, and people were hungry, and there were like nothing. People were in lines for long times to buy basic necessities. And I had a dream, something similar just recently. I saw huge lines of people standing in lines waiting for something to buy. And they were just standing there. Their line were not moving, and it was going all the way down the street. But that's just a basic dream I had. Are you prepared for an economic collapse? They're stating if the economy crashes, then the trucks will stop rolling. The grocery stores will run out of food. The businesses will shut down. You will lose access to your credit cards. Banks will close. Demand will outstrip supply of food, gas, and other necessities. It may also affect water and electricity, and they may not be available for use. So what can happen? Why would we be, what can cause the economic collapse? What can trigger it? So the experts are stating there's three things that can possibly trigger it. I guess the economy is already on the brink of collapsing, but when it reaches the peak, it just like kind of like starting shaking and shaking. And what will trigger for it to fall down? Um, the three things that they're stating is number one, war with other countries. And at this time that we are in, it's there's something on the brink. There's talking about how they will punish Russia, how they will do sanctions, how they will do this and that, and it could trigger something bigger. As I was like talking to people from Ukraine, there's relatives, there's my friends there who live there. They were saying that they were so unprepared for this to happen. Um, they were stating that they don't have any food to eat, they don't have any water or medications. They do get help from different organizations at this time, but at first, when it first happened, they were so surprised and so shocked. They were unprepared. People were just in like a daze, and a lot of them had no food to eat. Even though people were talking about war for the past year, but nobody was prepared. And number two, it could be a natural disaster, like an earthquake or something huge. So, if for instance, if there will be a big, huge earthquake in California or to the whole West Coast, that will trigger an economic collapse because it'll be such a huge blow that it will trigger something like that for sure. Um, but number three, they were saying that number three is the most unpredictable one because you go to sleep and you wake up and it's a collapse. What triggered it? No one knows. It just happened overnight. So that's like one of those unpredictable things that happen overnight. When I guess when it was going higher, higher, and then just kind of folded itself during the night, nothing we can do about it. So basically, are you prepared for this collapse to happen? If it happens tomorrow overnight, are you prepared? Do you have everything in order? For instance, if banks close tomorrow, will you be able to go and buy groceries if there's still any left? Because as soon as it happens, people will panic. People will all run to to get the gas, to get groceries, to get food. But if you have gasoline, yes. But if you have no gas in your car and the banks will close, you won't be able to use your credit cards. What will you do? You won't be able to use debit cards because if the banks collapse, everything will it will take time for them to balance everything out and to get um, something similar going. But if that happens, if there's no banks, your credit cards are not working, your debit cards are not working, what will you use to pay for money, for groceries? I mean, that's something you have to think about. You may have to have cash on hand. You may have to have some kind of bargain items. You may have to have something like food in your storage so you'll be able to eat the first week when everything crashes. You won't be able to run out and get anything. Um, Basically, what they're stating is the best solution is to have something at your house, to have gas, to have food, to have cash on hand if you do need to run out and buy something, to have water and electricity. Um, I mean, by like either solar or batteries or lanterns, batteries for flashlights, anything like that, so you won't be sitting in the dark in case there's an electricity outage as well. Um, so just kind of prepare yourself in case this happens, in case something similar will happen, because if this happens overnight and you're not prepared, this will be very bad news for you and your family, especially if you have little children. A lot of people in Ukraine were like in devastation. They were like so unprepared and so sad and so tragically, like they thought that like the world ended. So it's a very sad place to be. It's a very, when that happens to you, emotionally you're unprepared for it. Inside your heart, you're unprepared for it. And when it does happen, you start hating people. You start blaming people. You start complaining. You lose your faith in God. And that's what the scary portion is. You have to, if God tells you prepare, get ready, and if I remember correctly, we had a lot of prophecies about it. A lot of Christian people have seen dreams and visions and prophecies about a lack of food. And they had dreams that the stores were empty. They had prophecy that God said, prepare, buy things, make sure you're ready. But a lot of people are still like, well, maybe it will happen in 5 years, so probably 10 years, who knows? So they don't really prepare. And when this happens, they start blaming people. They start blaming God. Why did you not warn me? I am crying. I am sad. I am cold. I'm hungry. If you've ever fasted, you know how you feel when you're not eating for a day. You feel terrible, right? You feel sad, you feel emotionally imbalanced, you feel like you're lacking things, and your body starts going through like withdrawal, and you start feeling really sad. You cry. But if this happens full time and you're not fasting, but you can't go to the store and buy basic necessities, how will that play with your heart, with your mind, and your soul? It's the biggest test ever, the biggest test. And most people are not ready for it. Most Christian people are not ready for it. They don't have as much faith that they will cry out to God and say, God, I am thirsty, I'm hungry, please give me food. And then they can't wait for God to give it to them because they don't have enough faith. So when God is telling people, prepare now, because you don't know what this war with Ukraine will trigger for the whole world to go. You don't know what this collapse, when it will happen here in America. But according to economic specialists, they say it will happen. And they say possibly this year, early this spring into summer. So this is my warning. Hopefully you'll listen. Hopefully you will prepare. Pray to God. See what He wants you to do. He may need you to do something different. It depends where you live. And as long as you're kind of prepared for it, then you'll be in a good position. It's much easier to have faith when you have food on your shelves, when you have money in your drawer, and when you have water, electricity, batteries. It's much easier to have faith. It's so much harder emotionally and physically when you're lacking things and your children are crying because they don't have anything to eat. Then your faith is being tested big time. Are you prepared to have your faith tested like that? I know sometimes I think, oh, I'm strong. I can do this. But something little happens and I start crying and upset and confused, and just for little things I get upset. Imagine when something big happens, something drastic like an economic collapse, and another person had a dream. He went to the bank and he saw there were so many people there. They were all trying to get their money. And when he was standing in line, there were so many people in front of him. The lady who was giving out money, she was giving them not what they were requesting. She was giving them barely anything. When it was the person who had a dream, when he came close to the register, the lady said, I only have $8 left. And I'm unable to give you anything at this time. So imagine the shock when you go to the bank and that's what they tell you. I only have $8 left. I'm sorry, sir. Please go away. And and you have no money to spend, you have no money to go grocery shopping, then this will be really, really hard. So, my friends, get ready, get prepared, and hopefully you'll be the best position ever. Pray to God, God will provide. Have strong faith in God. No matter what happens, He is there for you. So, if something happens, pray to Him. He is our best hope in the line of action. Take care and stay well.